Okay, so here we have another of the pre-sold bikes. Now, this one may not be pre-sold because when I bought this in America, I thought it was a 1990. I hadn't studied the pictures massively. Anyway, now I've got it in front of me. It turns out it's an 88 kx500. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see whether the guy who pre-ordered it still wants it or not. To me, it being an 88 doesn't make it any less desirable. In fact, in some cases, in some instances, it would make it more desirable because it would run in the Evo class. And so the 88s and the 89s are actually the bikes to have for the Evo class, really. Very, very competitive machines. So what can we say? There's a few little bad bits on the bike. So one of the worst bits is the front wheel. So it's, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. Check that out. So they've sprayed it black, and they haven't sprayed it all black. They've only sprayed half of it black. Maybe they were trying to make it, I don't know what they were trying to do. And they've sprayed half the hub black as well, and it's the other half to the rim that they've sprayed. God knows. The rim looks straight to me. I've had a quick look at it, and it looks to be straight. That brings us on to another of the bad bits of the bike, and that is the fork protector. So this side is cracked, so I mean it's going to need replacing, and this side's missing, so it's going to need a new set of fork protectors. And as you can see on this side, fork seal's leaking. Now it doesn't look as though the fork is damaged. It looks as though the fork tube is okay. So that would be the risk, as that fork tube is exposed, that it would get a stone chip or something like that on it. But that doesn't appear to be the case. The bike's got a nice FMF pipe. It's got a couple of dents in it. They should blow out, to be honest. And then one of the other bad bits is the levers. It's got these horrible, like, road style levers. They're just, I mean, you might like them, you never know, but I don't like them. I think they're nasty, really. But other than that, I mean, it looks as though it's had some paint on the frame, and it doesn't look as though it's been painted particularly well. So at some, I mean, if you're going to have it as a race bike or a bike to ride, then that would be something you could potentially live with for the moment. But ultimately, you probably want to get that redone. The brakes work. So the front and the back brake works. That locks the back up. The shock. There is oil on the shock shaft. It's quite sticky oil. We'll check the damping in a minute. Other than that, though, it's a very nice bike, and it's complete, and it's, yeah, got everything that you need, really. I had a quick check. The radiators are full with nice bright green coolant, which is a good sign. It's obviously been used in the desert, because look at the size of that front sprocket. It's massive. This bike's probably going to go, and the rear sprocket's absolutely tiny. That's 45 teeth on that rear sprocket. This bike probably does about 130 mile an hour. So maybe they need to be changed as well. And there's oil in the gearbox. I haven't dropped any of the oils or anything like that, so it's not something I'm planning on doing. The bike was a running bike when it was bought. So what I've done, what happens is basically the fuel inside the fuel tanks in America, due to the heat and everything, I mean, the fuel goes stale anyway, but due to the heat, I think it just makes it worse, and it goes stale very quick. So when you open the fuel tanks, they stink of, when you smell nice petrol, it's like, it like almost like stings your nose, whereas this stuff, it's like you can take in a massive breathful of it and it doesn't do anything to you. So it's not the best fuel. So I'll be running it off a bottle when I start it in a minute. An external fuel source, so it'll need a new fuel pipe because they're always perished, so they're always like rock hard. And then the other thing that I checked was the air filter, and it's got a lovely, I mean, it needs cleaning, but the air filter must be reasonably new. It's all complete. They normally disintegrate and this one hasn't. So yeah, there we go. So we'll just do the gearbox check. There we go. So I mean, I've turned the engine over with my hand. There is bags of compression. It's hard to turn over with your hand. So I'm gonna do the gearbox check, but I ain't gonna get the engine to turn over. So that's first gear. Back up to neutral. Second, third, fourth, fifth, top of the gearbox, fourth, third, second, back down to first, that is, and then just a flick up to neutral. So the gearbox is working fine. Like I say, it was a running riding bike when it was bought, so I wouldn't have expected there to be any problems with that. So we'll just I'll just lower her down here. What we'll do, so it could be that oil that's on the shock shaft is has just been flung up. It looks as though the mud flap here is missing. So just be oil that's flung up. So it could do with a shock rebuild. So probably, I mean, the front forks are leaking, the rear shock's leaking, has leaked, and there's not much damping left in it. So getting your front forks and your rear shock done would be a good idea. Yeah. So let's I'll lower her down, and then we'll see if she'll fire up. I might have to put my kicking boot on for that though. One of the things I always do on the American bikes, I always check the air filter, because they're normally corroded, and the air filter oil, I think, with the sun and the heat, it like eats into the foam and they disintegrate. But this one on this kx500 is actually quite good. Obviously it needs a clean, but it's not falling apart. It's one of the only ones I will have had that hasn't done. So she has got huge amounts of compression, so I was going to put my motocross boot on to kick it, but I thought I'll give it a go and just see. Anyway, after about 4 or 5 kicks she went. She sounds good, so let's see if she'll go again. For some reason the choke isn't staying up, so maybe I want to get a new little choke mechanism. I'll sort that little problem out. So just get her over top dead centre there. Needs tick over setting and that, but she sounds good. She'll absolutely flipping rip your arms out of the sockets when you open that throttle, especially if you change the gearing back down to what it should be.